Hello, thanks for joining us for another episode of Explore Charles County. My name is Ashley Chenault, your host, and I'm the Chief of Tourism with the Department of Recreation, Parks, and Tourism. Today we are in one of our beautiful state parks, and I am joined by Ms. Cheryl Elliott, President of Chapman State Park, Friends of Chapman State Park. Cheryl, can you tell us a little bit about the history of this site and where we are today?
Oh, there's so much history here. We're looking at the right part of the house is actually the first part of the house that was built dating back to 1805. We're not really sure exactly what it was for. Maybe that was a cottage that was to oversee the ferry business that was already going on the shore, on the Potomac shores, that the Chapmans operated very successfully. The rest of the house was built in stages, but 1840 and 1850 were the main areas that you see for the main part of the mansion, and then the garage was added in the early part of the 20th century. So that's the house.
Okay.
Now, of course, history has many directions from the family who lived here, pretty much the Chapmans throughout the early part of the 20th century, from when it was first built to when it was sold. It was the last private owners. There was a person who was from Boston. He was a stockbroker, retired. He used it as a hunting lodge. And then it was sold a few years later to the Countess Bessignier. Okay. And the Countess Bessignier turned it into really a horse farm rather than a farm that was producing tobacco, crops, and that type of thing. The Countess lived here part-time until her death in the 80s, at which time it was inherited by her niece. And then it went for sale. It was put up for sale, and it exchanged hands a couple of times during that time, and then finally to the state, who purchased it in around 2001 to preserve it for history.
Okay, preserve it for history.
And the rest of us.
Yes, absolutely. And so how is the site used today?
The site is used today it's open on Sundays, April through October, from 1 to 4 p.m. That is what the Friends of Chapman State Park do. The Friends of Chapman State Park have also been entrusted with renovating the entire property, what you will see when you tour the property.
So Cheryl, in your opinion, what do you think the best view of the house is?
Oh, of course, it's the back,
yeah.
The rear view, looking out over the Potomac. We sit up high, about 86 feet above the Potomac River in terms of height above water. And the expanse is breathtaking.
I would have to agree.
Absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite views in Charles County as well. Cheryl, what would you say a special fact is about the house that most people don't know?
Well, that it's open to the public.
Okay.
It's a public treasure. It's a public asset, and people should come here to learn the history of Mount Aventine, Chapman State Park. I mean, we have 29,000 visitors that come to Chapman State Park every year, and I don't know that all of these people who walk in to visit the trails, walk the trails, know about the heritage aspects of this historic southern plantation and what it means.
Yeah,
and they will learn that by visiting the house. And of course, you will notice around here that we have interpretive signage, and that helps. Now, obviously, there's much more in the house, more in signage, more brochures than that I've shared with you, but there's much to learn here. I think that's the fact that people don't know that they should know about.
Right, and 29,000 visitors, that's incredible.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when the site is open, do you have docents that take you through a tour through the house?
We do. It's all volunteers.
Okay.
And by special appointment also. If an organization wants to do a special tour, we will make arrangements for that.
Okay, perfect. So where can our visiting audience learn more about website information, more ways to donate and volunteer with your organization?
Okay, great question. By going to our website, our organization's website, and it is www.friendsofchapmansp.org.
So we are now overlooking one of the best views of the Potomac, and I am joined by Mr. John Anderson, Director of Large of Friends of Chapman State Park. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So can you talk to us a little bit about what your connection is to this site?
Sure. I am one of the descendants of the Chapman and Boykin family that lived here up until 1915. The Chapmans came here from London back in the 1750s, and the property was purchased in 1753. Nathaniel Chapman, who was the first owner, was business partners with Augustine Washington, who was George's father. And then they started up the Ohio Company, and they also had Principio Ironworks, so quite prominent in the area at that time. But between the Washingtons, the Masons, and the Chapmans, that's really how this area kind of took off. But when I was 26, my grandmother gave me a photo of who is now my second great-grandfather. It was her grandfather. And he was a Confederate officer, and I was upset about that. I asked her to tell me about him, and she, on the back of the photo, she wrote his name, and it says Captain in the Confederacy. And unfortunately, she died shortly after I saw her, and I put that photo away. And during COVID, I was going through some things and found it, and I just searched his name, and all of this exploration in my family's history has come out. And now, as a volunteer, I want to get this open as much as possible, kind of continue my grandmother's direction, I think. I don't say legacy, but more her guidance. I do feel her out here sometimes, just kind of guiding me. But this, as Cheryl said, this is for everyone, and to be able to have weddings. I've had people get engaged out here. It's absolutely beautiful. So those are the moments, and I want this to be an experience.
Okay, perfect.
So, great place to visit.
Yeah, thank you so much, John.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the Charles County Recreation, Parks, and Tourism Guide, your passport to unforgettable adventures and experiences. Explore an array of programs, events, camps, sports, and so much more. From outdoor adventures to educational enrichment, there's something for everyone. Don't miss out on all the excitement. Visit charlescountyparks.com today and let the fun begin.
So we are now down at the mouth of the Potomac with Elena Gilroy. She is our Mallows Bay Operations Manager. And because we're the Department of Recreation, Parks, and Tourism, and it is Earth Month, we want to celebrate our beautiful parks and the collaboration between our department, right?
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining me, Elena. Can you talk to me a little bit about how many acres our Parks Division maintains?
So our Charles County Parks Division maintains just over 4,000 acres of parkland.
Okay. And outside of managing the actual parks, what else does the Parks Division do?
So our Parks Division is also responsible for maintaining all of the elementary and middle school sports fields. They do the snow removal at all of the county facilities, which includes the sheriff's offices, the library, places like that. And they do the mowing in those locations as well. So most of our county facilities are maintained by our Parks and Grounds Division here in RPT.
Okay, so it truly is a full year-round operation.
Absolutely.
And so we have state parks, which we're at right now. We also have county and local parks. Can you talk to us a little bit about how many are here in Charles County?
So there's over 24,000 acres of parkland between the federally managed, state managed, and local managed here in Charles County. So some of them are not considered parks, they're considered wildlife management areas, but they are all open for the public to explore and enjoy.
Okay, and if we were going to talk about one county park, which park would you like to talk about with our viewing audience?
I mean, I am the Mallows Bay Operations Manager, so that's the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart. But I think that one that a lot of county residents are familiar with is Gilbert Run Park. I think I've heard you mention that that was one of your favorites.
Absolutely.
So that one is a really good park to get a little bit of everything. It does have the rental facilities for pavilions and paddle boats and things like that, but it also has a really good amount of nature there in the park. It's really just a good place to get a little bit of all your park experience in one place.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you a little bit about Mallows. So
Okay.
can you tell the viewing audience a little bit about what Mallows Bay is?
Okay, so Mallows Bay Park is in Nanjemoy, so the opposite side of the county from Gilbert Run, but it is the home to a large collection of World War I ships that were brought there and salvaged for their metal, and it makes for a really cool paddle experience. So if you're looking to learn a little history with your nature, we do have county paddle tours starting in the beginning of May and running through the rest of the summer. So that's you can explore it from the shore, and there's about 2 miles of hiking trails there at the park, but I really think that if you want to fully experience it, you got to get out on the water.
I agree. You got to get out on the water. And I love Mallows Bay because from a tourism industry perspective, everybody knows about Mallows Bay. So I love that. It's one of our separators in Charles County. So let's talk about the Indian Head Rail Trail. What is the Indian Head Rail Trail?
So the Indian Head Rail Trail is a 13-mile hiker, biker, walker trail that runs from the town of Indian Head to White Plains. So it crosses a large portion of the county land. It goes through the Mattawoman Creek watershed, so it's got a lot of really nice nature and history, but it is a paved trail. So a lot of people like to use it for fitness and for biking and for just getting outside and enjoying nature. It originally was a railroad that brought powder to the naval base at Indian Head, and once the naval base kind of transitioned out of that particular use, the county got it, and now it's a really neat way to get your steps in or your biking in and still kind of get away from the city.
What is a lesser known local park in Charles County?
So the town of Indian Head and the town of La Plata both have their own parks. But I think one that a lot of people like to enjoy is Tillman Lake Park right there off of Radio Station Road in La Plata. It has a catch and release fishing area, it has a little pavilion, it has a trail that connects over to Laurel Springs Park, and I know that the town of La Plata has been working on having some camping experiences there this summer. So
yeah,
that's definitely a in a lot of people's backyard way to get outside and enjoy some of Earth Month, some of the nature that we have going on.
It is definitely one of our hidden gems. A lot of people don't know that one is there. So thank you for sharing that. What are some ways that people can protect our natural resources?
So there are a lot of different ways to protect natural resources. I think that the first one is just to be willing to learn a little more. I think that if you are willing to get out and explore and just familiarize yourself with the things that are in your backyard, knowledge is power. So I think that that's a great way. You can also join, there are numerous volunteer groups that do things outside in nature. I know Charles County Parks in particular has done a lot of, had the Sierra Club do a lot of tree plantings in our parks, or the Audubon Society has partnered with us for our Eagle Cam, which there's a chick on the nest right now if nobody's checked that out. So there's just a lot of really cool ways like that. You can also participate in events like BioBlitz. Mallows Bay has a BioBlitz at the end of this month on April 28th, so that's a great opportunity to learn. I said knowledge was power, so if you wanted to learn more about the nature, there'll be experts there to help you kind of learn a little more about the things that are out and about. So really just taking the time to get to explore it a little is probably the best way.
Yeah, and BioBlitz, that's an annual event, right?
BioBlitz happens twice. Last year it happened twice a year. I assume it will again this year. It usually happens in April and September.
Okay, perfect. And that's a great segue to tell our viewing audience where they can learn more information about our recreational activities and parks in Charles County.
Absolutely. So if you want to check out more about our Charles County parks, you can go to charlescountyparks.com. And if you want to learn about some of those other state and town lands, they also have their own websites. dnr.maryland.gov covers all of your state facilities, and townoflaplata.org and townofindianhead.org cover your your town parks.
For more ways to learn how to explore Charles County, visit our website, explorecharlescounty.com. And I'd like to wish you a good morning, good afternoon, and good night. It's always a great time to explore Charles County.